So on August the 28th, 2019, I made a YouTube video and I named it Presidential Blasphemy Pride Before a Fall. All right? And as you can see here, only 7 people watched it, and one of them was me. And another one was my dad. So that means besides myself and my dad, only 5 people watched it. And the comment was nothing but a spam. What this means is virtually nobody listened. Virtually nobody watched it. And now we have a political crisis in the United States of America. And nobody seems to know the reason why. Take a look around you. Look at the stalemate in Washington, D.C. Why is this happening? To find out, let's retrace our steps here. Oh, and by the way, you'll see in the comments on this particular video, French President Macron predicts fall of Western hegemony. And of course, U.S. President retweets this. What does he retweet? This is what he retweeted. Now, I don't want to say it myself. I'm going to let the idiot who said it speak for himself. And you will notice here that Donald Trump says, "Thank you to Wayne Allen Root for such very nice words." Well, I'm not going to say everything that he said. President Trump is the greatest president for the Jews and for Israel in the history of the world, not just America. He is the best president for Israel in the history of the world. The Jewish people in Israel love him. And then he posts this right here. I'm not going to say it. Do you know who the king of Israel is? I will show you in a minute who the king of Israel is. You see the memes that came afterwards. All right. So we're going to go ahead and play this video. It's a couple of minutes. It's a few minutes.
Just will not see, they will not listen, they don't want to hear it.
Right.
I've got friends that vote Democrat because their mother told them to 50 years ago. And I'm like, Jesus, times have changed. You just need to see.
But is there a crack of hope, Barney, or any of those friends whose mother told them to vote Democrat 50 years ago, any of them switching because they've seen the light with Trump?
They won't even watch. They won't even consider. They're brainwashed.
Amazing. Yeah.
I think they're brain dead, really.
They're blind, deaf, and very dumb. Blind, deaf, and very dumb. Don't forget, I don't know if you haven't watched the show, I happen to be Jewish by birth, and 75% of all Jews vote Democrat. And they don't like Trump. And this is the greatest president for Jews and for Israel in the history of the world, not just America. Trump's the best president for Israel in the history of the world. And the Jewish people love him like he is the king of Israel. They love him like he is the second coming of God. And in America, American Jews don't like him.
Yeah, this is what President Donald Trump retweeted. And what I want to go ahead and do, folks, is go to the Bible here for a second. Let's see if I can remember how to find it. It was... Let's see here. I'm going to have a little bit of a problem finding it. I can't find it. So I'm going to have to look up, what was his name? His name was Herod gets eaten by worms. We're going to have to Google that. All right. So it was in Acts 12. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Acts 12. Now Herod was highly displeased with the folks of Tyre and Zidon, which is Lebanon today, and he came with one accord to them, and having made Blastus the king's chamberlain their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. And upon a set day Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, and sat on his throne, and made an oration unto them. And the people, it was the people of Tyre and Sidon, Lebanon, gave a shout, saying, It is the voice of a God and not a man. And immediately the messenger of Jehovah smote him, because he gave not Elohim the glory, and he was eaten with worms, and gave up his life. Now, what happened to Herod, we need to understand, get some context here. This is while the temple was still there in Jerusalem, while Jehovah's presence was still there in Jerusalem. And but this is a very similar sin to what President Donald Trump committed by not giving glory to Jehovah, making a correction. He went even further. His crime was even worse than what Herod, I believe it was Herod Agrippa, is what his name was. I think that's who it was. Anyway, because not only did President Donald Trump not refute it, but he repeated it. He repeated it. Now, I need to show you who the King of Israel really is. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to I'll have to Google it again. All right. These people, they go and say, Jesus is Jehovah. Can you believe this stuff? This is the most amazing thing. Jehovah is the Father. It's I'll find it later, okay? Because I don't want to waste a bunch of time here. Okay. Let's see what these people say. See where the scripture is that I can find it here. All right. See, these people are doing it. Now, I've told you. I've told you how far Christianity has slipped away by claiming Jehovah is Jesus Christ. Jehovah is the Father. All right? And they won't, as I pointed out so many times in the scripture, where King James has placed the Lord, it was actually Jehovah. Shall judge the ends of the earth and shall give strength unto his, it should be crown prince, and exalt the horn of his anointed. Let's see here. Like I said, I'll have to go to that later. What I'm trying to point out is Jehovah is the king. Jehovah is the king of Israel. Now, when one makes oneself equal, and this is what happened here, equal with the Father, this is very, very important, folks. They love him like he is a second coming of God. Let me show you what happens. Isaiah 14 and verse 12. Go to Strong's Concordance. Now, let's start with this. Jehovah, not Jesus, Jehovah, will have mercy on Jacob, and will choose Israel and set them in their own land, and strangers will be joined to them and will attach themselves to them, will be grafted in to them. If you want to see how the grafting works, you have to read Romans 11. Romans 11 is a chapter that Christians do not believe. Like I said in the previous video, when my dad wore the hat with Romans 11 verse 26 on it, the pastor's wife says we do not ascribe to, as she said, the Old Testament, as if Romans 11 is somehow the Old Testament, to the house of Jacob, and the people will take them and bring them to their place. So the Gentiles are going to take them there. The Gentile nations are going to take them there and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess those who bring them there to their place. This group, first group right here, the first group of Gentiles, they are the ones who are going to be grafted in. The second group are going to be forced to bring all Israel back into their land. And they, the second group of Gentiles, will be for servants and handmaids, and Israel would make captives of those who made Israel captives. Now, what happened at the same time? What will happen at the same time? Now, let me ask you this. Now, this section right here, the fall of Babylon. If it's in the same chapter as this section right here, is the fall of Babylon then indeed ancient Babylon? Or it is a future Babylon like what is written in the book of Revelation? Future Babylon meaning Rome. You see, who made Israel captives? Rome. Who was their Rome's oppressors? I mean, who was Israel's oppressors? It was Rome. All right, so if the shoe fits, wear it. And it shall come to pass that Jehovah, not Jesus, Jehovah, not Yehoshua, but Yehoshua's name consists of the name of Jehovah. And Jehovah is going to send Yehoshua to do this job. But Jehovah gets the credit. He will give you rest from your sorrow and from your fear and from the hard bondage which you were made to serve. Who did this? Who did this? Well, let's listen to what this king of Babylon said. There was more than one who has done this. There was Antiochus IV. There was Caligula, and so on and so forth. You shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, say, how has the oppressor ceased? Or just say, the oppressor has ceased, the golden city has, that's what it says here, ceased, has desisted. All right. Jehovah breaks in pieces the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Yes, he breaks them into pieces. Why? Why does he break their scepter into pieces? To smite the people in wrath, a continual stroke, rule the Gentiles in anger, will chase, and nobody can stop him. The whole Eretz, that's the land of Israel, is now at rest and quiet, and it breaks forth into singing. Yes, even the fir trees rejoice, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, you are laid down, and go up. You're cut down, go up. Hell beneath is moved for you, to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, even all the chief ones of the Eretz. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the Gentiles. And they will speak and say unto you, are you become weak as we? Are you become like unto us? Your pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of your bottle, it says bottle, let's dig a little further. Your jars, your pitchers, etc., or the noise of your wine, probably what it should say. The worm is spread and covering, is a covering. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, son of the dawn? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the Gentiles, the Goy? Well, again, what is it that this entity said? For you have said in your heart, I will send into the sky, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Jehovah, of Elohim, El. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will send above the heights, or I will send to the high place. in the dark cloud, or above the dark clouds, and I will be like, resemble the Most High. Elion, the Most High. What happens to people when they even think this in their heart? Now, Wayne Allen Root said it, and then President Donald Trump repeated it. What happens to people like this? You will be brought down to Sheol, or hell, to the sides of the pit. And they that see you will gaze and will discern. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made this world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, and that opened not the house of prisoners, etc.? So, what he says here, but you are cast out of your grave like an abominable branch, and the raiment of those, and as the raiment of those who are slain, thrust through with the sword that shall go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under foot. Now, only bad things can happen to people who repeat such blasphemy. And my point about showing my channel how nobody listened, nobody watched, or virtually nobody, it didn't change what the outcome is turning out to be. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what the outcome is. I'm just saying that Jehovah does not take kindly to somebody making themselves equal with him. And history has proven that to be the case. Not only that, for the past couple of years, President Donald Trump has been talking about his peace plan of the century. Now, for many, many years, preachers, evangelicals, what have you, and they went all the way back to, what is his name, Cyril's 15th Catechetical Lecture, to try to point out that their Antichrist is going to be a Jew, and that he's going to make some kind of a peace deal with the people of Israel and deceive them. And yet, as I pointed out, and yet, when such a man came around and did exactly what you said would be a description of your Antichrist, as you say, you Christians, you fell asleep. You still thought that President Donald Trump was a man of God, as you would say. Never mind the fact that he did things that Antiochus IV did, and that he did things that Herod did, that incidentally got both of them killed and their kingdoms taken away from them. Let's see here. Now, I've also gone over Haggai 2 concerning how justice for Israel would happen beginning with Hanukkah. And indeed, the story of Antiochus IV is exactly that, but it's going to happen in the future. Antiochus IV is remembered as a major villain and persecutor in the Jewish traditions associated with Hanukkah, including the books of the Maccabees and the scroll of Antiochus. Rabbinical sources refer to him as the Wicked One. Jewish Encyclopedia concluded that since Jewish and heathen people sources agree with the characteristics of him, their portrayal is evidently correct, summarizing this portrayal as a cruel, vainglorious ruler who tried to force all the peoples in his realm a Hellenic culture. And let me remind you, folks, of all the scriptures from Paul that I pointed out in Romans 1 and Romans 2, judgment, anguish and tribulation upon every soul of men that does evil, to the Jew first and also to the Hellene. Paul said the Hellene. Well, I proved in many videos ago that the entire Western civilization is Hellenized. They are Hellenes. Okay. The true essence of which he can scarcely be said to have appreciated, whether Antiochus' policy was directed at extermination of Judaism as a culture and a religion, though it is debatable on the grounds that his persecution was limited to Judea and Samaria. And what do we have going on right now with this peace plan of the century? Essentially stopping Israel from applying sovereignty to what? To do Judea and Samaria. And any one of you who've been listening to my videos, I have done over and over and over about the peace plan of the century and how it was designed to keep Israel from receiving or applying sovereignty to Judea and Samaria. And what have we here but a second connection between President Donald Trump and Antiochus the madman? And as I keep pointing out, the Gentiles, like it says right here, Jews in diaspora were exempt. In other words, as long as you stay in diaspora, then the Gentiles, the Hellenes, are fine. They're cool with it. At this juncture, I'm not talking about Nazi Germany, okay? I'm not talking about the 2,000 years of persecution in Europe. I'm talking about right now. And I even did a video about, where is it? I'll point it out. I'll point out this video. If I can go backwards for a second. All right, trampling on the body of a dead Jewish woman while proclaiming peace. And in this particular video, I pointed out how if President Donald Trump and previous presidents and all the prime ministers around the world have not stood in the way of Israel applying sovereignty to Judea and Samaria, this woman would not have gotten killed, would not have gotten murdered. So now the blood of this Jewish woman is on the heads of the presidents and prime ministers around the world. All of them. It was as if they murdered her themselves. So, I go back to Antiochus. Now you can see some similarities between the U.S. government and the governments around the world, Hellenized governments, and Antiochus. Now, but there's more. There is more. Antiochus was hardly an ideologically motivated Hellenizer. Eric S. Gruen suggests that instead he was driven by more pragmatics, such as a need to gather income from Judea. Antiochus was the first Seleucid king to use divine epithets on coins. divine epithets on coins. That's what the United States of America does. And as I pointed out, in God we trust is not respect to Jehovah, because the word God comes from the false Norse god, Norse idol Godin or Woden. Perhaps inspired by Bactrian Hellenistic kings had earlier done so, or else building on the ruler of that his father Antiochus the Great had codified within the Seleucid Empire. These epithets included manifest God and his defeat in Egypt, a bringer of victory. So what Antiochus did was exactly the same thing as what Caligula did. Declare himself to be a deity. That's right. Kind of like what Donald Trump did. He did. I have the proof right here. I have the tweets right here. Here it is. Read it for yourself. And then all the memes afterwards. Every single evangelical Christian GOP member of Congress must be asked if the real Donald Trump is the King of Israel and the second coming of something. You see? And then you wonder why terrible things appear to be happening in the government of the United States of America. Now, am I saying that the opposition is in the right? What I'm telling you is they all have this spirit. They are all Hellenized. They're all consumed by the spirit of Lucifer. And as I pointed out in the previous video, Luciferians, what was the name of the video? Once again, let's go back. Yeah, the previous video, America's House is Built on Sand. About how 3-digit agencies are Luciferians. So the whole apparatus is going to come down, folks. Don't go to Washington, D.C. and try to defend your side. Stay home. And make sure that you have witnesses proving that you're at home, so nobody will falsely accuse you of participating in the nonsense that's about to happen in the next few days and weeks. One way or another, this thing is coming down. Because when you disrespect the King of Israel, he's going to show you who the King of Israel really is. It is Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel. And maybe that's the way I should finish this. I was looking for a way to now, in every single case, now they haven't posted it because it would be hundreds of them that they would post. But everywhere where King James put God, it's Elohim of Israel. Okay? So, when you say that you're a second coming of a God, in reference to Yehoshua or Jehovah, you're going to get an answer, and it's not going to be something that you're going to like. All you have to do is read through the Bible. Now, I just showed you a couple of scriptures. So my point is, at this point in time right now, I think everyone needs to. You should have prepared yourself already. You should have prepared yourself for a lights out kind of situation. I'll give you an example. In Great Britain, I believe it is, they're planning on shutting down, not allowing people out of their houses for but 1 day a week. All right? Let's see if I can find it. I probably have to go to BBC. BBC Home. I may have to actually try to Google it directly. Anyway, I'm on a new computer, folks, and that's part of the problem here. But they're literally planning on allowing people out of their home for 1 day out of the week. See if I can find it. It should be on UK Daily Mail. And I gotta go and fix this ad blocker situation I've got. But anyway, you can Google it for yourself. You can find out for yourself. And I'm just saying, prepare yourselves if you haven't done so already. If you haven't done so already, it might be too late, quite frankly. So anyway,